Hello, everyone, and welcome to 0 a pointless football podcast for fans and non-fans alike. Where we pit someone who knows some football, that would be me, Fixxxer, against someone who knows absolutely nothing about football but could talk for an hour about how to fight. A fight would go between Vikings and Buccaneers, and that would be Tulkas. What's up, Tulkas?
Rejoice?
Rejoice indeed. So the purpose and goal of this podcast is to see if I can predict game results with more accuracy using football knowledge versus Tulkas, who will base his predictions on completely arbitrary reasons.
I'm not.
Yes, arbitrary reasons. I'm going to say it at the beginning of every podcast.
That's mean.
Maybe a little. All right, so we'll talk about our scores from last week, how well we did, and then we'll jump into what's coming up this week. And our featured game at the very end of the podcast will be... what is it? The Giants versus the Cowboys. So let's start. Last week's score, I was 10-6, and Tulkas, you ended up with 7-9.
Ooh, 7-9?
Yeah, 7 correct guesses versus 9 incorrect guesses.
I thought you said it was 7-7.
Yes, but there were 2 games remaining when I said that.
Well, that's gypped. Did I get any of my ties?
No, but there was one tie last week.
Ah!
Just not one of the games that you picked.
Giddy up.
Yeah. There was a couple surprises. I mean, it was a typical NFL weekend. Some blowouts, some surprises, just the way it goes.
Okay.
Not a bad score. All right, let's start. First game of the week. Thursday night game between the Baltimore Ravens and the Cincinnati Bengals. This is going to be played in Cincinnati. Remember all those wide receivers I mentioned last week for the Ravens? Well, Joe Flacco passed it around to all of them, and they trampled the Bills' defense. It was a slaughter. It was ugly. It was actually pathetic. And Dalton and the Bengals, they had a pretty good game last week. Ravens are much better than the Colts, though. I don't think they're going to repeat that. Don't get too high on the Bills, so don't get too... I mean, the Bills are bad, so don't get too high on the Ravens either. I still think the Ravens are going to beat the Bengals, though. They'll take care of business. How about you, Tulkas?
I mean, it's Tigers versus Ravens. I mean, I feel like the Tigers are stealthy enough and nimble enough to avoid the beaks and claws of the Ravens. They can probably, pounce up and grab them out of the sky. I think it has to go to the Bengals. I think, especially if they're fighting on their home turf. I mean, they just know the landscape. They can pounce. It'll be great.
Despite the Ravens being a social animal and they could bring friends to the fight?
Well, wouldn't that be cheating?
No, I'm not so sure. I mean, it is Ravens, not the Baltimore Raven.
Well, I know there are multiple Ravens. I mean, when you say friends, do you mean people like other beasties?
Other Ravens.
Oh, other Ravens. Like all the Ravens?
All the Ravens in the area.
Okay. Well, that changes things. Because I imagine that Bengal tigers are not indigenous to Ohio. You can correct me if I'm wrong. However, I imagine that there are quite a few ravens in Ohio. So if all the Ohio Ravens swarm on the Bengal tigers, I mean...
there may be a Bengal tiger or two in the zoo.
That's true, but I don't think that's relevant. Oh dear, this is a difficult one. But I mean, these are we're playing this in Ohio. I mean, are the Ravens in Ohio going to be rooting for their own kind, even if their own kind are foreigners? Does the bond of Ravens transcend geography?
That's a very good question.
That is a very good question. I think that the Ravens, they're smart, they're social, but I think that, more than anything else, Ohio is in the Midwest. They're almost as great as we Hoosiers. And, we Hoosiers stick together. So I think that the Ohioans will stick together just as much. So I'm going to give it to the Bengals, even so.
There you go. All right, next one. The Houston Texans, early Sunday game. Houston Texans at the Tennessee Titans. So due to weather delays last week, the Titans-Dolphins game was the longest game in football history. NFL history anyways. I don't know about any other footballs. The Titans Surely wish they never went to Miami, though. Mariota got injured. Delaney Walker had his ankle rolled up. I think it ended up broken. He's out for the year, possibly out for his career. Taylor Lewan was knocked unconscious. I think he's in concussion protocol, so he might miss 4 to 6 weeks. Ugly day for the Titans. For the Texans, Deshaun Watson didn't have a great game his first time back. It could have been worse. I don't think I'd worry too much about it. It's just one game. And I think the Texans will bounce back against a broken Titans team. I'm going with Houston. What you, Tulkas?
10 years after the destruction of Atlantis. Busy rebuilding, are they? How foolish to pretend they are safe, to think that closing some gates would mean the end of this, to forget that I'm still here. Well, it's their nature to be forgetful. Even their gods are absent-minded. Zeus has forgotten about everyone he locked away in Tartarus. It is time for all of us to remind him. Go! Do as I have told you! Make way for the Titans!
That's a pick for the Titans, I take it.
Yep.
The Texans are no match, hey?
Yep. It's my boy Kronos.
All right. Next pick. Kansas City Chiefs are playing in Pittsburgh against the Steelers. So for the Steelers, Big Ben had a pretty bad game against the Browns. Connor had a great game, though. Kind of makes you wonder what they're going to do with Bell now that Connor showed that he can definitely be a 3-down back. They were lucky to get away with a tie, honestly. The Browns probably should have pulled that off, but the Browns are going to Brown, right? The Chiefs, we finally got to see Mahomes, and he was nothing short of amazing against a pretty good defense, too. I'm sold. I'm on the bandwagon. He was crazy good. I think they're going to have a fantastic year, and I think they're going to beat the Steelers. So Chiefs win. How about you, Douglas?
So what did my homies do? My homie! What did my homie do to go from pretty awesome to nothing short of amazing?
I was embellishing.
Look at you. Well, I'm pretty surprised there was a tie, actually. I thought that the corrosive power of the Browns would really wear away at the Steelers. But whatever, that's in the past. Now we have the Chiefs versus the Steelers. And I feel like the Chiefs, they don't have a lot of firepower. Chiefs, they use, bows and arrows, right? So,
Sure.
We have our bow and arrow firing against people made of steel or, steel armor. I still don't know how the steels work. But, this is how the conquistadors were able to conquer Mexico. The conquistadors had armor, and they were like, "Whoa, we're conquistadors! Woo!" So yeah, I think that this is just going to be, my boy Cortez all over again. Got to give it to the Steelers, I'm afraid.
It's a good pick. It can happen.
I think I've gone against you all this time, haven't I?
You have, and that's all right. That's a good way to pitch up.
Yeah. So either I'm going to win or you're going to lose. Woo!
Yes. All right, next up, the Miami Dolphins are playing at the New York Jets. So Ryan Tannehill had a decent game for the Dolphins last week. Their defense bailed them out a few times, though. And how about that introduction to the NFL for Sam Darnold? Not too bad, even though he had a pick six on his first pass, which cracked me up. I thought he was going to get trounced all game. But he got it back together, and he racked up a lot of points against Detroit, which has a pretty darn good secondary. So pretty impressive outing for Darnold. Honestly, I have no idea where the Jets are were just that great, or if the Lions were really that bad. I'm thinking it's probably a little bit of both, but one thing's for sure, I think the Jets will beat the Dolphins with no problem. So New York Jets. What you talk is?
Are you a fan of the Magic School Bus? Fixxxer TV?
Yeah, I was a long time ago.
Well, there's a character named Arnold who's always like, why did we have to go on the field trip? And I feel we have Arnold, and then we have Darnold. It's like, hey Darnold, you don't want to go on the field trip, Darnold. Yeah. Okay, that was beautiful. Anyway, so we have the Dolphins versus the Jets. Jets aren't really useful underwater, are they? The bullets. Yeah, I think I have to give it to the Dolphins, don't I? How are Jets going to fight the Dolphins?
They could maybe fly across right at the edge of the water, and maybe their afterburners can slaughter the Dolphins as it goes by.
That's brutal.
It is. It is. That's the only thing I could think of.
I feel like slaughtering the Dolphins would I feel like slaughtering the opposing team would give them a penalty.
Well, maybe. Oh, you know what they could do is they could fly over the water and just drop a whole bunch of nets.
Ooh, that's a good idea. But do the Jets have prep time? Like, are they able to customize their arsenal? Is that allowed against Dolphins?
They get like 6 days to prepare for the game.
Well, that's cool. So I guess then I guess I will I will agree with you. The first time I will agree that the Jets will beat Dolphins.
All right. Next up, the Cleveland Browns are playing at the New Orleans Saints. So we had classic Saints, right? We had Drew Brees putting up ridiculous stats, and they still lose. So what happened to that defense, man? What happened to that secondary? They got totally destroyed. One of the biggest shockers of the week. So, the Browns, amazing effort by the Browns. It was a crazy end to the game, and they found a new way to kind of not win. I don't want to say a new way to lose since it's a tie, but they found a new way to not win. But they did pretty well. I'm happy for their fans. They have some of the best fans in football, and I think they have a team to be excited about. However, I don't think they're going to be able to do it against the Saints. Saints are going to win. Although, it is worth pointing out that the Saints have lost their first 2 games of the season for each of the past 5 seasons, which means they should probably lose this if you're a little superstitious. But I'm not. I'm going with New Orleans. How about you, Tulkas?
That's a gambler's fallacy right there.
Well, yeah, I mean, and they're completely, they have new players each season, so it doesn't really matter, but sports fans tend to be a little superstitious.
So, wait, so the Saints, they cycle between the Saints? That's interesting. I wonder which Saints they have on their roster this year. So, before we start recording, Fixxxer told me that we're limited to the Catholic Saints roster for this. So, going with them, I mean, there are a lot of Catholic Saints. I'm going to try to look at more about them for next week. But
one of their new players, one of the new Saints this year is Teddy Bridgewater.
Okay. Teddy Bridgewater. So he's able to walk over the water like Jesus, only he's on a bridge. Wow.
Yes. It's impressive.
That's like the least miraculous thing I've ever heard a saint do. But okay.
Well, how about this for a miracle? He destroyed his knee, ripped the tendons out. He almost lost his leg, and 1 year later, he's back playing football.
Yeah,
that part is pretty miraculous.
That's pretty cool. I mean, could you play football if you lost your leg? I mean, they're like Paralympics. You could get a Paralympic guy.
Leg, no, but there are players who have lost hands in the NFL.
Do they keep playing?
Yeah, I think there's 2 of them right now. One of them, he went in the NFL with a full hand, but due to a July 4th fireworks accident, he blew his hand up. Wow! Don't laugh at that. That's awful. Poor guy. He lost his hand, and he's a good player too, and he still is a good player. Another guy, I think he had some kind of birth defect, and they had to amputate his hand when he was a baby. So he lived his whole life without a hand, and he still made it into the NFL. It's pretty impressive to me.
Look at you. I'm proud of you. Well, that just proves that instead of celebrating fireworks on July 4th, you would save up fast to celebrate July 5th, the birthday of our Messiah. Okay, so what we have here is, so we have the Browns versus the Saints. Now, brown, I don't think brown is a very holy color. I mean, I feel like, you can bless the brown. Oh, dear, this is an interesting one. I don't know. So, well, I suppose that's true. You said, who knows, didn't you? You said,
yeah, who knows?
No, but he still gave it to New Orleans, I guess.
Yeah. The who knows is the superstitious part. If you're superstitious, you probably will pick against the Saints.
Because I saw that you put NO for New Orleans, and I thought you were just saying no. Well, that's going to be my answer. My answer is no. Capital N, capital O.
All right, next up, the Los Angeles Chargers at the Buffalo Bills. So what happened to the Bills secondary last week? And remember when I said that Peterman would be benched by halftime? I was close. He was benched at like 1 minute into the third quarter. And then Allen didn't fare much better after that. He didn't get any help from his O-line. It was atrocious. It was a nightmare. In fact, they easily look like the worst team in the NFL right now. And for the Chargers, Rivers had a good game, as he usually does. And they faced a good Chiefs team as all. I think that's what they had to go against, a good team. Yeah. But anyway, did you see any picks? This is rhetorical. I'm not asking you specifically, Tulkas. Did you see any pics of their stadium, the Chargers stadium? There were more Chiefs fans from Kansas City in the Los Angeles stadium than there were Los Angeles fans. It's bad. The fans actually hate this team that much. And it's a complete dumpster fire of a franchise. And I'm not speaking of the players. It's not the players they don't like. They like the players. It's the owners that they hate. Because the owner is a prick. He's one of the worst owners in all of sports. However, the Bills are just that bad, and I'm picking the Chargers over the Bills.
What did the owner do?
He moved the team from San Diego to Los Angeles. And he's very cheap. He makes poor decisions. He doesn't like to pay players. Things like that. He likes, when he drafts players, he doesn't like to give them the money that their position deserves. He's very cheap.
Aw, well, no, that's really sad. Well, I think that everyone is worthy of love, so I love that owner anyway, and you can't make me hate. Okay, so what we have the Chargers. I think that this is pretty similar to last week when they were fighting the Chiefs. And if you remember, my last week I argued that the Chiefs would beat the Chargers because the Chargers they'd go charging in, but then the Chiefs would be able to circle around and hit them in the flank. And the Chargers, they put all their money on this one big powerful punch into the enemy's lines, but the Chiefs are able to fold and emerge and destroy. I feel like the Buffalo Bills will have a similar ability since they are also a Native American team, both very nimble. Would you agree, Fixxxer TV?
I don't agree since I picked the Chargers, but your logic is sound.
Okay. Well, if my logic is sound, then Bill's gonna win. Woo! You see, owner, I believe in you.
All right, next up. The Philadelphia Eagles are playing in Tampa Bay against the Buccaneers. Classic Ryan Fitzpatrick. Signs on as a backup. He gets a shot to start due to injury or suspension. He plays out of his mind, one of the best quarterback games of all time. But don't buy it. Don't fall for it. You get 1 or 2 games from Ryan Fitzpatrick like this, and he goes back to being regular Ryan Fitzpatrick. Do not fall for the illusion. So while he did it against a good Saints defense, which makes it even crazier, there's no way he's going to be able to do it against the Eagles. I think the Eagles will win in Tampa. Tulkas, how about you?
Yeah, I guess. So Ryan Fitzpatrick. I don't know. There's a dude. There's apparently a person. I now know he exists.
He's a Buccaneer.
Yeah. He's a Buccaneer. I see. Well,
and he's got a big old beard, so he kind of fits the role.
Ooh, I see. Do you have a beard?
Of course I got a beard.
Ooh, tell me about your beard.
Actually, it looks a lot like Ryan Fitzpatrick's.
Giddy up. Woo! Okay, so I think that Eagles, the Eagles are just going to swoop down. The Buccaneers are going to try to swipe at them with their weapons or whatever, but the Eagles, they're going to dodge. They're just going to be poof, poof, poof. And yeah, I think the Eagles are going to grab the ball and their talent. They're going to go, caw, caw, caw. Yeah, I think Eagles win.
Eagles, okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Another early Sunday game, the Carolina Panthers against the Atlanta Falcons. This is in Atlanta. I'm not sure how much the hurricane is going to be a problem for this. It could be, since it's apparently turning south into Georgia, so could be a problem. Anyways, Julio Jones has been criticized an awful lot for not being an end zone target, and that may be a fair criticism, I guess, but he put up 170 yards, and he isn't their only player. They got Freeman, they got Sanu, and they are both legit targets. I wouldn't be worried if I were a Falcons fan. As far as the Panthers, their defense got roughed up. Their defense roughed up Dak Prescott and the Cowboys. The Cowboys are so bad. I don't think the Falcons will roll over as easy as the Cowboys, and I think the Falcons will win here pretty easily, actually.
And I suppose you have experience with hurricanes after Hurricane Harvey. Ooh, reference!
Yep, yes, indeed.
Well, yeah, I think I'm going to agree with you. The Panthers, they're pretty fast and nimble. I feel like the Falcons are faster and nimbler. They're just going to be able to dive bomb the Panthers and be slightly that little bit faster way to just swipe and swipe and swipe and swipe, and then the Falcons will win. I think we're going to go with Falcons.
All right, makes sense. Next up, the Minnesota Vikings are playing one of their rivals at the Green Bay Packers. So the Vikings defense looks like the Vikings defense. They look scary, but still gave up excessive yardage to tight ends. Hopefully that's something they could clean up a bit. Cousins had a few too many 3-and-outs. He got paid to not have those kinds of things at important times. But I'm sure Zimmer is going to hammer those two things in. They'll get them cleaned up. And last week proved that as long as Rodgers is back there, the Packers have a chance, but not this week. The Vikings will beat the Packers in Green Bay.
Oh, I liked it when you were all like, the Pack has a chance! The Pack! Yeah. Pack. So what is a tight end?
A tight end is a large person who catches the ball and he stands at the end of the line.
Interesting. So was this who was the tight end?
Who was the tight end last week? It was Riddle? I think his name. Wait, what was his name? Oh my god.
Okay, it doesn't matter. What's a 3-and-out?
That means that they get a possession and they fail to convert anything and they have to give the ball up.
Okay, so it's like failing to convert with a monk because you don't have enough faith. Okay, I got it. I got where we're at now. So we have the Vikings versus the Packers. I mean, the Vikings, they don't really need meat. I mean, if anything, they need less meat and more fruits and vegetables. I mean, the Vikings are sailing over the seas and they don't want to get scurvy. I mean,
and Green Bay is on Lake Michigan.
Yeah. So like they're sailing down, they're exploring the new world, going through the Lake Michigan, being all like, "Woo, we're Vikings! Look at us go!" And I mean, like they need scurvy, and I mean, like, why are they even battling? This doesn't even make any sense. But okay, so they're I mean, if they tight ends, and I can imagine the Packers having a big dude. I mean, big meat guy, big tight end guy made of meat to do whatever it is he does. I don't know. I feel like the Packers are going to win because the Vikings are going to get scurvy and die.
All right, so you're going with Green Bay.
Yeah. Woo!
And that tight end's... Oh, crap. I just hit the wrong link. That tight end's name was Kittle, not Riddle. I was one letter off.
The Riddler.
Kittle. All right. Next up, Indianapolis Colts.
Woo!
Of the Indiana fame. Woo! Versus the Washington Redskins in Washington. That's Washington, D.C., by the way. Whoa. Why did Google sign me out?
Okay, I'm gonna read it for you.
Nope,
Fixxxer.
I'm back.
All
right, so Andrew Luck, he actually had a good game his first week back. The running game didn't amount to much, which was really no surprise, and it resulted in him throwing the ball 53 times, which is outrageously excessive, but he wasn't bad. It was pretty good. Alex Smith had a great game against the Cardinals. Yes, I said great and not good. And Adrian Peterson was decent in his first start, not mind-boggling or anything. It was his first game in a long time. Not too bad. So, I'm waiting another game before hopping on the Luck bandwagon, though. I'm gonna give him one more game, and I'm gonna pick the Redskins to beat the Colts in Washington.
So, is Alex Smith with the Redskins? Okay, he's with the Redskins, and he beat the Cardinals, which obviously are the state board of Indiana. So, we may be thinking that if we can beat... Wait, did they beat the Cardinals?
Yes.
Okay, so they
beat them badly.
Oh, okay. Well, if they can so badly trounce the state bird of Indiana, You would think that they could also trounce the state team of Indiana.
Yeah, makes sense.
So, I mean, I am on the luck bandwagon, but I suppose, that's a trend, man. You beat one Hoosier. We're great Hoosiers. We bounce back and all, but I think I have to give it the Redskins. Yeah, I'm sorry, Andrew Luck. I still believe in you, though. If you win, don't say I didn't tell you would win.
And there's always next week.
Yeah.
All right. We're moving on to Sunday afternoon games. We're looking at the Arizona Cardinals at the Los Angeles Rams. Bradford and the Cardinals stunk last week. David Johnson had a rough return as well. I think they scored 6 points off memory here. The Rams, however, looked pretty good against the Raiders, and there's no reason to believe the Cardinals will be any more difficult. I think the Rams are going to win in a rout.
In a rout? So you think they will rout the Cardinals? That's interesting, because that suggests that the Cardinals have poor morale if they are going to rout, to flee the battlefield.
Yep.
That's interesting. And you added route here at the last moment. You added it live, not in a little document you have here. So that means that you just feel the fear. You feel the fear going through these Cardinals. These may be the state bird of Indiana, but they are from Arizona. And John McCain died recently, and he was a senator from Arizona. So maybe they're like, oh my God, what's going on? Everything is death. Like Joe Arapio is doing whatever it is he's doing. I don't even know. There are Rams running at us with their hordes. Like normally maybe the Cardinals could do what the Chiefs, the Bills are going to do against the Chargers and go peck. But now, they're demoralized. They don't know what's going to happen. They got wrecked by Redskins of all things. Come on, Rams. I'll go with Rams.
That's a good move. And it's also worth pointing out that the quarterback for the Cardinals, Mr. Sam Bradford, is a very fragile person. And the Los Angeles Rams have some pretty big, hard-hitting guys on their defense. Don't be surprised if Bradford gets injured in this game.
Do you think that I'm a fragile person?
Only on the inside.
Oh, I'm a delicate flower.
All right, moving on to the Detroit Lions at the San Francisco 49ers. Despite all the injuries, the 49ers actually played a decent game against a tough Vikings defense. Some bad decisions and mistakes were made, but I thought it was a respectable performance. I think people look at the stat line and they think otherwise, but I watched the game, and I thought Garoppolo was pretty decent. He made bad decisions, but he made a lot of great throws. Anyway, the Lions. Wow. They played awful in every facet of the game, and it's not a talentless team. They got a lot of talent on this team. They looked ill-prepared. They looked clueless. I don't think this is going to be evident of their season, but I would be kind of nervous if I were Lions fans. I think the 49ers are going to beat them this week. I don't think the Lions bounce back.
Okay, so we have, the 49ers are going off to California to get some gold. Apparently there are lions there. I don't know why. What value does gold have to lions? They're probably just trying to maul them, to eat them. But there's this is a pretty close one. I'm going to give it to the 49ers, I think, because I feel like, the Lions are going to try to, eat the 49ers, and then the 49ers will respond in force. They're going to try to root out the Lions. And my computer just turned off. Okay, good talk.
Nice. Couldn't have turned off too much. You're still here.
Yeah, it's the monitor turned off.
Oh, okay.
Clear. Yeah.
Lovely.
Got it.
Next up, the Oakland Raiders against the Denver Broncos in Colorado. Case Keenum. I want Case Keenum to succeed. He is such a likable dude. We got to see all phases of Keenum last week, though. We saw the errant throws. We saw sack evasion. He's so good at that. And he threaded a few needles, and he threw lots of interceptions. We saw Case Keenum. The Bronco defense racked up some sacks and turnovers, too. Von Miller is a beast. For the Raiders, I was never a big beast mode fan. I always thought he was a bit overrated. Not bad, mind you. I think he's good. I just think he's a little overrated. But that touchdown he had, where he carried like 7 people into the end zone, is one of the best touchdowns I've ever seen. However, I think the Broncos are going to win Broncos.
I want to hear you say "Holy cow."
Holy cow.
Giddy up. I think that with a name like Case Keenum, you can't be unlikable. Oh, I like you already, Case Keenum. I don't know who you are, but I like you. Okay, so you have the Broncos, we're like riding in, and then the Raiders going beast mode, whatever that means.
That's the nickname of their running back. His nickname is Beast Mode.
I thought it was quarterback.
No. Marshawn Lynch is their running back, and his nickname is Beast Mode. Because he's got like really strong legs, and he could just pound into the defense really hard. He's really good at that.
Wait, so are there both running backs and quarterbacks?
Yes.
Well, that makes no sense. But okay.
Yep.
So yeah, we have
well, here, how about the original name of the running back was a halfback. So you have a quarterback, a halfback, and a fullback.
There are fullbacks?
Yes, there are fullbacks.
Are there any other backs?
Not really, no.
I had a teacher in middle school called Mrs. Back. Okay, so the Broncos and Raiders, they use pretty similar tactics, actually. Like the Broncos, they're cowboys, they're riding into the town, they're tying in, going like pew, 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 and then they skedaddle after there. And the Raiders, obviously, they're raiding, they're going in there. So, I mean, they're going to be able to disrupt each other's eco, be able to, like, get in, and just sort of, like, I think it's pretty close. I mean, they have there's like a Case Keenum dude, and then there's a Beast Mode dude. So they both have their heroes.
It's in Colorado, in Denver.
It's
in
Denver.
There's lots of mountains nearby.
There's lots of mountains. I mean, I suppose you could put your eco in the mountain. That might make it more difficult to raid if you're fighting uphill or whatever. I don't know. What do you think, Fixxxer? You think the Broncos are going to win?
I do.
I mean, I kind of want to give it a tie. I mean, there was one tie last week, but I mean, I feel like I'd probably just be better off choosing one or the other. I mean, so Tic Tacs, I'm just going to give with the Case Keenum guy. I don't even remember which team he's on. Whichever team Case Keenum is on, okay, it's Denver's apparently. Woo!
All right. And for the record, ties are pretty rare. There's usually only 1 to 3 per season.
Aw.
They happen, but they're rare. All right, next up, the New England Patriots versus the Jacksonville Jaguars down in Florida. Tom Brady was Tom Brady, and Gronk was Gronk. That's his name, Gronk. Sometimes it seems it doesn't matter who the wide receivers are for Tom Brady. Although if I remember correctly, I read the other day, yesterday or the day before, they picked up 1 or 2, I guess, in free agency. But anyway, it'll be fun to see what they could do against a Jaguars defense. It's one of the best in football. And Bortles, well, he was Bortles last week. He did enough to get them the points their defense needs and nothing more. This is a tough, probably the toughest game for me to pick. I'm going to go with the Patriots this week, I think.
These people have the weirdest names. Yeah, I suppose the Patriots are like they're landing in New England. They're going out to settle. They're making the little farms, little towns in New England. Then the Jaguars are coming in to try to roam. But I mean, they have Minutemen. Like the Jaguars tried to pass, but then you just get the Minutemen. The Minutemen are like, woo, we're militia.
Isn't the oldest settlement in the United States? Isn't it in Florida near Jacksonville?
That is an interesting question. I don't think that's. I think it's Saint, right? Saint Augustine, I think, in Florida.
Yes, it's St. Augustine.
Yeah, that one. I think that Jamestown and Roanoke Island were first, but I could be wrong with that. I don't know. It's been a while. I did get a 4 in the U.S. AP exam, so there, U.S. history. But yeah, I'm going to give it with the Patriots. They're going to be organized. They're going to have the Minutemen. They're going to be able to repulse the Jaguars.
All right, don't tread on me.
Giddy up.
Next up, this would be Monday Night Football. This is the, wait. Yeah, Monday Night Football. Seattle Seahawks at the Chicago Bears. Russell Wilson was sacked 6 times by the Broncos last week. He gave them a chance, as he usually does, but it wasn't enough. Russell Wilson, just like Brady and Breeze, Russell Wilson is going to Russell Wilson. And Khalil Mack, he looked great against the Packers, at least for the first half. He paid off immediate dividends to the Bears, despite the team choking near the end. I think they bounce back. I think the Bears are actually going to beat the Seahawks, Chicago.
So for the second time now, you said the Packers instead of the Pack. Why is that, Fixxxer TV?
The Packers, it's the same thing.
I like the Pack. It's a cool name. Like, ooh, the Pack. I'm going to be in Wisconsin in like 4 hours, and I'm going to be like, yo, you're the Pack. Yeah, so we have the Seattle Seahawks, Brian's beloved, versus the Chicago Bears. I don't know, like, Bears are pretty big, probably difficult to dive in, but then I suppose the Seahawks have, like, they have speed. Like, the Bears are going to be all lumbering. They're going to be all, like, lumbering tanks, whereas the Seahawks are, like, going, like, boop, 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 boop. So I guess, oh, this is difficult. What am I doing? I'm going to give it, I'm going to give it to the Bears just because, like, no, I can't give it to the Bears. How could I give it to the Bears? I mean, they're the Seahawks. Oh, Fixxxer, help me.
Well, it's in Chicago, so the Bears are on their home turf. The Seahawks, they have to come inland to play them, but they do have
there's Lake Michigan.
Yeah, there's Lake Michigan, so they do have a little bit of water or some familiar ground there.
How polluted is Lake Michigan?
Well, by Chicago, it's quite polluted. If you go north, though, it's not bad at all.
Well, I mean, how far can the Seahawks fly? Do you think they'd be able to fly out to hunt in the non-polluted area and then fly back to Chicago?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I suppose I'll give it to the Seahawks. Whatever. I believe in you, Brian. Don't let me down. At twitch.tv/LoganWood11. He's been I think he might be streaming Dragon Warrior right now. Actually, go watch him.
All right, and the last game of the week. This is the Sunday night game. Remember, we are picking one game per week. We're going to talk about the history of each of the teams, why they're located in the cities that they're located in, what their names are, where they came from, things like that. Sunday night is the New York Football Giants at the Dallas Cowboys. Let's start with the Cowboys, I guess. They got an interesting history. Somewhat. At least the city does, not necessarily the team. So the first major sports team in Texas, of all the sports, was the Dallas Texans in 1952. They were founded as the Boston Yanks in 1944. Then they moved to New York. They changed their name to the New York Bulldogs. They didn't like the Bulldogs. They went back to the New York Yanks. And then they moved to Dallas in 1952 and changed it to the Texans. And they only played one season in Dallas, and they were so bad. They're considered one of the worst teams ever, the 52 Dallas Texans. They were so bad that the owners couldn't make payroll, and they had to sell the team back to the league. That's how bad they were. They disbanded the team. The league disbanded the team, and they sold all the assets, including the players, to the Baltimore Colts.
Hey, why they're giving all the bad guys to the Colts? Why would they do that? That's mean.
The Colts was a new team. It wasn't an existing team.
Oh, I see. That makes sense.
So they started a new team called the Baltimore Colts, and back then, this is probably something a lot of fans don't know. Back then, expansion teams, they weren't allowed to draft players. It was kind of like unfair. They didn't get any dibs on any of the nice drafted players. It's hilarious how mean the owners were to new teams. So the Baltimore Colts were a new team, and they sold all the assets to them, and that's what happened to the Dallas Texans. The current Cowboys team is not that same team, because the Baltimore Colts moved to Indianapolis.
Woo!
Yeah. So the current team, I just wanted to talk about the history of Dallas. So the current team's different. 1958, the Washington Redskins made a deal to move to Dallas, but it fell through. So the Washington Redskins almost became like the Dallas Redskins. They may have changed the name possibly to the Dallas Texans or something like that. So that's a little known secret as well, that even though that they're rivals now, Dallas and Washington hate each other. Dallas almost had the Redskins as their team. So the current Cowboys team started in 1960 as the Dallas Steers.
What's a steer?
It's like a bull.
Yeah, cool.
Then they changed it to the Dallas Rangers, and this was all before they even played a game. This was like when they were kind of like putting everything together for the team. So they changed the name to the Rangers, then they changed it to the Cowboys, and they settled on that, and then they built the team up, and it's been the Cowboys ever since. As far as the Giants go, the Giants' full name, their real name is the New York Football Giants, and they were formed back in 1925, and they're named as such because there was a New York Giants baseball team, so that's why they inserted that football in there. There was a previous team in 1919 called the New York Giants, but they folded before they ever played a game. So this 6 years later, they finally were able to get a team going. There really isn't much to say. They've been the New York Football Giants ever since 1925. The first game they ever played was against All New Britain. That was actually the name of the team, All New Britain. They didn't have like a name like the Giants or the Titans. It was All New Britain. And they were based in New Britain, Connecticut. I bet you did know that New Britain, Connecticut had a football team, did you, Tulkas?
I'm sure Morocco would have been thrilled.
Yes, Morocco would have been thrilled. All right. He is our UK friend. Anyway, moving on to the actual pick. Saquon Barkley had a pretty good game last week against a really tough defense that bent but didn't break. The Cowboys appear to be in trouble, I think. One of the worst wide receiving core in the league. There's no Witten as well. He's in the booth Monday Night Football. And their offensive line has struggled as of late. In fact, they looked pretty bad. They went from having the best offensive line in the league and probably the best by far. And now they're struggling. They're below average. It's crazy what kind of turnaround they had. And it's exposing Prescott. He's playing poorly. And I think the Giants are going to win in Dallas this Monday.
I have a spider plant on the windowsill. It's kind of dying. That's sad. Like it's all shriveled up. The leaves are shriveled up.
Well, water it.
I did water it like a few days ago. I don't know. I'm not. Oh dear, that's bad. Okay. Anyway, I've decided that from now on I'm going to be called Witten the Valiant. Are you on board with this idea? I'm going to be Witten. I'm going to be like, hey, I'm Witten. I'm here to wit all y'all. Witten, giddy up. So, yeah, we have the Giants versus the Cowboys. Big lumbering giants with clubs versus the Cowboys on horses going like giddy up and pew, 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 pew. I feel like the Giants, they can just like form a phalanx and just like wade across the battlefield. I don't know. I feel like I'm going to give it to the Giants too.
Giants as well. All right.
I'm starting to be more... take Fixxer's answers more into account now that I know that he's better at this than I am, apparently.
No, that's not entirely true. That's why we're playing this, to see if knowledge actually matters when picking in football games.
Yeah.
All right, I think that does it for this week. Week 2 is done. How do you feel about your picks, August?
I don't feel all that confident. Like, I was really confident last week, but then I just got like 4-9. Ugh. So last week, I asked the viewers to vote on who they thought was more beautiful, me or Fixxxer, and no one voted, which means that you and me, Fixxxer, we are equally beautiful in the eyes of the fans. How does that make you feel?
That's something I can live with.
That's good, because we are #Team Super Best Friends. That is our team name. Finally, I asked Olmo to watch the podcast, and he said that he was not going to watch or listen to 50 minutes of people talking about others getting brain damage for fun. How do you respond to Olmo, Fixxxer TV?
Fair enough.
Okay. Bye, everyone. Thank you for watching.
So that completes week 2 of the 0 to 0 podcast. Again, we welcome feedback. Anything you have to say, what you liked, what you didn't like, down in the comments below. And I guess that's it. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Shout out to Diesel, our one commenter. I love you, Diesel. Bye, everyone.